So, my dear boys and girls, we are on to the last function of management. All right. We know that we started with planning, then we moved on to organizing, staffing, directing, and now we have come on to controlling. And though this is the last function of the management, but this is not the end of it because it's a cyclic situation. So, controlling leads back to planning. So all the functions of management are cyclic in nature, repetitive in nature, and they are continuous in nature, and so is controlling. Now, if I have to define what is controlling, controlling in very simple words, we say controlling is ensuring conformity to plans. So ensuring conformity to plans, just 4 words define controlling. So what is controlling? Controlling is a process of ensuring conformity to plans. Now, when we go ahead, I'll also start with the slideshow. Give me one sec, please. So, boys and girls, so what is it? If we have to go into controlling, we can join all the steps in the process of controlling and we can come up with yet another definition of controlling, that controlling is all about setting of performance standards, measuring the actual performance, comparing it with the standards, removing any gaps in between. And that is controlling. So when I'm saying removing any gaps, the purpose of controlling is to ensure that the things are getting done as it was planned. So controlling gets us back to plan and ensures that plans are being executed and implemented as it was decided. Okay. So that is about controlling. Moving ahead, characteristics of controlling. Now, there are 4 characteristics of controlling. You can call it as GCAB. Yes, I hope it is visible to you, or I'll have to remove it. Yes, it's GCAB. The code is GCAB. So controlling is a goal-oriented function. See, excuse me. The purpose of controlling is to ensure that the goals which were set up in the planning function, the first step of planning is setting objectives. And the purpose or the basic reason why we have controlling is to ensure that the goals which were set up in planning are achieved. So controlling is a goal-oriented function and its goal is to achieve the goals which were set up in planning. Then C stands for continuous. So here, this is the first one. So this is the first one, GCAB. C, controlling is continuous, need not repeat. All functions of management are continuous. Business is a going concern, and therefore management and all its functions are also everlasting, continuous in nature. They never come to an end. You control one thing and then the second and the third, and it is on and on and on. So it's continuous in nature till the time organization exists. Then A stands for all pervasive. Just like any other function of management, controlling is also all pervasive. That means it is present in all the organizations which are goal oriented, and it is to be executed or implemented at all the levels of management also. And last but not the least, B stands for both backward and forward looking. So controlling is both backward and forward looking. Now, how is it backward looking? Controlling goes back to the planning function to pick up the objectives that were set, the plan that was selected and implemented. If you remember, the second last step is implementing the selected plan. So implementing means communicating to everyone that this is how the things are need to be done. And then comes follow-up. So actually, when we start follow-up, it is actually, we are talking about controlling. So controlling looks back towards planning, and that is why it's backward looking. And how is it forward looking? Because controlling helps in making better plans in the future also. It removes the deviations for whatsoever, it removes the gaps, and it helps in making better future plans. So it's forward looking as well. Or you can also say controlling again redirects the process towards planning. So it is forward looking as well. So 4 characteristics of controlling. Importance of controlling. I was literally thinking what code to create over here. And then this is something that I have come up with. What if I call it as Gemify? Gemify, right? So J stands for judging the accuracy of standards and judging the accuracy of standards. So standards are set in the planning function. Performance is done throughout the year, and in controlling, the actual performance is measured and checked with the standards. Now, here only the supervisors, the managers come to know that how authentic were the standards. It might be so that the standards were a little too high and people are not able to achieve it. It might be that the standards were a little too low and everybody has actually superseded or exceeded the standards. So it is actually in controlling function that you come to know what is the accuracy of the standards. Like I clearly remember there was one movie called as Faltu. I don't know if people have seen that or not. I always advise my students to go watch that movie. So in Faltu, this movie raises a question that the passing marks, the standard set up by the board is 33%. But tell me, are you going to get admission in any good college at 33%? Definitely not. तो फिर standard इतना low क्यों रखा है? अगर बोर्ड स्टैंडर्ड ही 60% रख देगा या 50% रख देगा तो हर किसी को रो पीट के किसी भी तरह से साम दाम दंड भेद लगा के 50% तो लाने ही पड़ेंगे. सो अगर हमारा स्टैंडर्ड ऊंचा होगा तो एवरीबडी इज बाउंड टू रीच दैट स्टैंडर्ड. सो दैट इज what this question was raised in the movie. So J stands for judging the accuracy of standards. A stands for achieving organizational objectives. So we have already done that the very purpose of controlling is to ensure that the organizational objectives are achieved. Without controlling, organizational objectives cannot be achieved. If you people don't give your pre-board exams, your half-yearly exams, you will never ever be prepared for your board exams. So that those exams help as controlling techniques or controlling measures so that you are able to get good marks in your board exams. Then M stands for making efficient use of resources. Since controlling provides a continuous check and keeps or ensures that the things are being done as they were supposed to be done. What is to be done, how it is to be done, when it is to be done, what method is to be used. It is all decided in planning only. Controlling ensures that it is being done exactly the same way. And so there is no duplication of resources, there is no overlapping, there is no wastage of resources, and hence there is efficient utilization of resources. E stands for order and discipline. It ensures order and discipline. Again, how does it ensure order and discipline? Because it keeps a close check on that the people are doing the work in the right manner as they were supposed to do. And therefore, they don't allow any kind of deviation from the plans. And that is, it ensures order and discipline. F stands for facilitates coordination in action. It facilitates coordination in action. It coordinates the actual performance with the planned performance and simultaneously keeps on removing. Sumit, I don't need any assistance from any of the students. Thank you so very much, but keep it to yourself. Okay, I'll annotate the PPT myself. Thank you so much. If I'll need any assistance, if I'm not happy with the work I am doing or I need anyone's help, I will definitely go ahead and ask you people. Till that time, keep it to yourself. Thank you. So it makes the coordination between the planned performance and the actual or the set performance possible. And the last one is improving employee motivation. How does it improve employee motivation? Because it ensures that if the people are following the deadlines, if the people are working as they were supposed to work, this will reflect in their performance appraisal report. It will be evaluated, right? It will be shown. And so it helps in improving the employee motivation. So by ensuring that the people are working in the right manner, by telling them that this is how you are supposed to work and ensuring that they're working, it motivates the employees, it keeps the employees on the right track. So Jamify is something that we can use for the importance of controlling. And coming on to the last topic of this chapter, steps in the controlling process. Very important. And out of these 5 steps, very simple and easy process actually. 5 steps just. And out of these 5 also, there is one particular step that has, that is actually the heart and soul of the entire process. So let's start. The first one is setting performance standards. Now, when you people write it, you write just 2 lines. You can see how much text is there on my screen right now. So setting performance standards, the very first step in the controlling process is to set up the performance standards, right? Now, these standards are the benchmarks or the criteria against which, or these are the benchmarks or the criteria which is to be achieved by each and every individual, each and every section, each and every department. So these are the benchmarks which are set up. Now, when we talk about these standards or benchmarks, there are 2 criteria. One, these benchmarks can be qualitative as well as quantitative. I repeat, the standards or the benchmarks can be qualitative as well as quantitative. However, it is extremely important that quantitative standards are clearly set up. So you can see the examples when I'm talking about quantitative standards, it is cost. यानी total cost of production हमारा max कितना जाना चाहिए? What is the revenue to be earned? If you remember, the example we took in setting objectives and planning, हमने कहा था increase in ROI by 20%. And I consider this incomplete in 1 year. This is the standard. So ये क्या है? This is quantitative standards. Why? Because we're talking about increasing the return on investment by 20%. And we have set up a time also. 1 साल. ऐसा नहीं कि पंचवर्षीय योजना चल रही है. So this is quantitative standard. Now, if I simply say increase in ROI, if I just leave it over here, increase in ROI in 1 year, I remove this by 20%. It will become a qualitative standard. And qualitative standard is very difficult to check the actual performance with the planned performance because standards, qualitative standards may vary from person to person. Like if I ask you that I expect you people to get good marks in the exam. Now, good marks ka definition हर एक का अलग-अलग होता है. For me, good marks may mean 80 on 80. For someone, it may mean 27 on 80. Pass हो गए, गंगा नहा ली, अरे वाह, मजा आ गया, good marks आ गए. For someone else, it may be 40 marks, it may be 50 marks. So that is why qualitative में there is always a bias, vagueness. But in quantitative, numbers, digits, you are bang on over there. And therefore, controlling will ensure that these objectives are achieved only when it is in quantitative terms. So that's the first step, setting performance standards. Moving on to the next one. Aryan, if you can just remove this line if it is possible for you, because I really don't have time for all this mess. This red line that is coming on my screen, it's irritating. If anyone can remove that. Aryan, if you can just see if you can do that. Second step is measuring of actual performance. Okay. So now comes that now when the standards have been set up, now is the time to measure the actual performance. And this measurement of actual performance is done after a considerable period of time. Like again, coming on to you people, it's not that you are being tested and tried every day. So you will have half-yearly exams. So half-yearly exams means आधा syllabus हमने पढ़ा लिया. We are in the mid of the year and now we are going to check how much actually have you grasped, how much are you actually able to implement of what you have learned. Then we will have the first pre-boards, maybe, towards the month of November, end or December, then the second pre-boards in January. तो एक टाइम पीरियड होता है, ऐसा नहीं है कि आप कभी भी उठा के एक्चुअल परफॉर्मेंस को चेक करने लगोगे. So actual performance is checked usually at the end of a certain time period. Now that time period may be a month, it may be a quarter, it may be a period of 6 months, and obviously it has to be an annual performance appraisal. So measuring of actual performance is nothing but preparing a performance appraisal report. आपने पढ़ा है evaluation, right? So coming back, so measuring of actual performance means to say making performance appraisal reports. Okay, performance appraisal we have done as a part of selection process also. So here, what are the various tools? Please do mention the various tools that are used for measuring of actual performance. It may be personal observation of the managers or the supervisors. It may be through accounting ratios. It may be sample checking. But one thing that needs to be ensured is that the performance should be measured in the same unit as the actual performance was set up. So if the standard was in the number of pieces, then performance should also be checked or evaluated in number of pieces. If the standard set was in the number of hours put in, then the performance appraisal or actual measurement of performance should also be in the number of hours put in. So the first is setting of standards. The second is measuring of actual performance. Obviously, third में क्या आता है? Comparison of the actual performance with the standard performance. So here, the managers, they compare the actual performance with the standard set. And why? In order to find out the deviations. And what are deviations here? So here the catchword is deviation. So what are deviations? Deviations is any gap or difference between the standard performance and the actual performance. Now here it is to be noted that if the deviation is minor, then it should be ignored. But if the deviations are major, if the deviations are, grave or beyond a certain range that has been developed, then immediate action needs to be taken. So after comparing the actual, so the purpose of comparison of the actual and the standard performance is to find out the deviation. Now, these deviations need to be analyzed. This is the most important point, and this is usually asked for 3 marks, CPC and MBE. So analyzing deviations. Now these deviations need to be analyzed. Analyze means the reasons need to be found, that why are these deviations occurring, or what is the difference. Now deviations can be of two types. One is positive deviation and the other one is negative deviation. So if I'm talking about positive deviation, it means the actual performance is actually better than the planned performance. So let's say if the plan was that on average working day of 8 hours, an employee is going to produce, let's say 10 pieces, but it is found that on an average working day of 8 hours, every employee is producing 12 to 13 pieces, then this is a positive deviation, because the standard set was 10 और हर कोई achieve कर रहा है 12 to 13 pieces. They are going beyond it. So positive deviation is welcome and this will be incorporated in future plans. However, if the actual performance is less than the planned performance, that is called as negative deviation. And no one wants negativity in life, whether it's work or whether it's performance or whether it's marks. So negative deviation needs to be taken care of then and there, or removed there. So when we talk about analyzing of deviations, two principles guide this. So the first principle is called as critical point control, which we usually call at CPC. अब CPC क्या है? ये जितना भी आपके screen पे दिख रहा है, you can take a screenshot of it, and this is exactly what should go into the answer. So it says that it is neither economic nor possible for the managers to keep a check on each and every area, each and every aspect, each and every function of an organization. Therefore, the focus of the managers should be on the most important areas, which are called as key result areas. KRAs. It's not key areas, it is key result areas. These key result areas are critical to an organization's success, because if anything goes wrong at these areas or at these points, then, the entire organization is going to suffer. Now, I'll give you an example over here. If I talk about you people, so, your parents cannot keep a check on everything that you are doing. आपके दोस्त कौन है, आप कब सो रहे हो, कब उठ रहे हो, कब आ रहे हो, कब जा रहे हो. But it's very important for them to keep a check on your girlfriends and boyfriends. दोस्ती जो जरूरत से ज्यादा हो रही है, वो किसके साथ हो रही है? वो key result area, because that's critical to your working, to your mental health, particularly now when you are giving your example, you're going to give your exams. So that's the critical point. Also, if you're studying too late at night, then your parents are definitely going to tell you, no, this is not good for your mental health, for your physical health. So that is a critical area. But otherwise, आप कब अकाउंट्स पढ़ रहे हो, कब इकोनॉमिक्स पढ़ रहे हो, किस सोर्स से पढ़ रहे हो, that is not that are not going to come or button over there. So the focus should be on key result areas. Now the example, this is different from what is given in your books. So in a manufacturing organization, an increase of 5% in labor cost, which is a part of cost of goods sold, it may be more troublesome than a 15% increase in postal charges. So simple, we are trying to say that if there is an increase of 5% in the labor cost, or you can say raw material cost or wages of the employees, that is a part of trading account section, and a 15% increase in the postal charges, then the key result area is labor cost and not the postal charges. So the focus should be on the labor cost, decreasing the labor cost and not the postal charges. The second principle that guides is management by exception. It is also called as control by exception. Okay, also called as control by exception. Now, what does it say? It says, since an organization deals with human beings, there are bound to be deviations. कुछ ना कुछ change आएगा ही. जैसे आपने हिंदी में सुना होगा, भी कहते हैं 19-20 का अंतर है. So what is this 19-20? This is deviation. So the things are going to go a little here or there. So a range of deviation. So what do the managers do? They develop a permissible range of deviations. So what is this permissible range of deviations? It's a range which will allow the deviations to happen. So if the deviation is within this range, then it can be ignored. But if it goes beyond this range, then it should be immediately controlled and brought to the notice of upper levels of management. Now, here the example given is different. I'll continue with this example. So here we were talking about 5% increase in the labor cost. So let's say if my permissible range for labor cost is 1 to 3%, that means if labor cost increases anywhere from 1% to 3%, it can be ignored. But the moment it goes ahead of beyond 3%, It requires immediate attention of the senior levels of managers, that is top level management, and it has to be immediately controlled. It cannot be allowed to happen before this permissible range. Again, when you are writing your exams, so if let's say your target is somewhere around 60, and let's say we are talking about first pre-board marks, आपने अपना target रखा 60 on 80. So 60 on 80 रखा है, so we'll say okay, plus minus 3. So okay, 60 नहीं आए तो 55 से 60 के बीच में आ गए तो भी चल जाएगा, और 60 से 65 के बीच में आ गए तो बहुत अच्छा, because it will be positive deviation. But if let's say you fall on 40, that is not accountable at all. So we gave you a gap of 50 कि ठीक है 60 का टारगेट लेके चलो, 55 तक आ गए तो भी सही है. So my permissible range of deviation is 5 marks there. But if it goes beyond that, then immediate stringent action needs to be taken. That is management by exception. This segment of controlling is the most important segment, boys and girls. And obviously now that the deviations have been analyzed, what is the next step? Taking corrective action. तो हमने ये देख लिया कि भाई हमारे critical areas में कहाँ problem आ रही है, कितना beyond range हमारा जा रहा है deviations. Now the point comes where corrective action needs to be taken. And what can it be? They can, first is you'll need to sort out, the managers need to find out the reasons for the problems or the deviations. Now reasons may be various, like it may be unsteady power supply, काम पूरा क्यों नहीं हो पाया, labor cost हमारी क्यों बढ़ी, क्योंकि power supply कम थी, over time पे काम करवाना पड़ा, तो obviously labor cost बढ़ेगा, और raw material का supply कम हो सकता है. Maybe the department is understaffed, the production department is understaffed, maybe the employees are not trained, maybe the employees are absolutely unhappy, they are not motivated, maybe the machine is absolutely redundant, old, maybe the technology used is good for nothing. Okay, maybe the employer-employee relationships are absolutely bitter. So the reasons may be any. What is the point? Now the managers will have to find out the reasons why the deviations are occurring and remove and nullify those reasons. So let's say if I'm talking about demotivated workers, if the workers are demotivated, then again, the managers will have to go back to the Maslow's need hierarchy theory, find out what is their need, what is it that is going to induce them, what is it that is going to motivate them. Is it money? Is it the organizational climate? Is it one-time benefit in the way of bonus? Are they worried about their safety and security of future? So are they bothered about job security? What is it that is troubling them? And once they find it out, they will have to remove it by providing the right cash or non-cash incentive. So this is how controlling and motivation is also interrelated. So corrective action must be taken once the reason is found. Also, it may be maybe the employees are untrained, so they will be provided with training. Maybe there's a problem in the supply chain. Supply chain needs to be tweaked and steadied. So that is all about taking corrective action. So those are the 5 steps of controlling process. अब अगर पूछो controlling के कितने marks के questions आते हैं, basically 5 marks आता है controlling में से, 1 for sure you are going to get this critical point control and MBE. This way or that way. Second, you may get 2 1 markers, or you may also get, identify which step has been performed and which is going to be followed by this. So this is how we go with controlling. Very simple and easy chapter. So we have completed it very well in time now today, and I'm really happy about it. We have a couple of minutes. How much? 36 minutes have gone by. If there is any doubt, anybody, you can unmute yourself and ask me. Anybody?
Ma'am, in Sandeep book, there's a limitation of controlling too.
Oh, that's not in syllabus, beta. Limitations are not in syllabus. It has been cut off.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah. So we just have features, importance, and controlling process. And yes, you need to know the relationship between controlling and planning. So we know that planning sets the stage for controlling, and controlling gets back to the plans to get those standards. And then it also helps in making better plans for the future. That is why we say controlling and planning, both are backward looking and both are forward looking. So that is one question which may be asked, that is controlling backward looking, is controlling forward looking, or it is both? So it is both. Any other thing